Good morning, McQuaid Jesuit, faculty, staff, and students. My name is Ambrose Weidman, and I'm excited to welcome you to Agape Latte 14.0, the shapes and sizes of God. Agape Latte is a national program that was created at Boston College with the intention of letting people share their amazing faith-based stories with other people in an informal setting. The title for Agape Latte comes from the Greek word for the selfless, unconditional love of God, agape. Our speaker this morning is Jerome Job, class of 22. During his time at McQuaid, Jerome was active in many aspects of community life, including the Executive Council, Mosaic Club, BSU, and Mission and Ministry. He is now a student at St. Bonaventure, but it's safe to say he still bleeds black and gold. Welcome home, Jerome.
Thank you, Ambrose. Wow, it's truly something to be back in this building once again. And it's an amazing privilege to see so many familiar and friendly faces once again. And I just wanted to start off by expressing just how grateful I am to be back and to have this opportunity to speak in front of you all today. I used to be exactly in your position once, come down to these events for the free food. Are we still using McChickens? Regardless, I truly am honored to have this opportunity to speak with you all today and share my story. When I was writing this talk up, I was rewatching the Agape Lattes of the past, and to say the least, I was pretty intimidated. Just watching the stories and emotions conveyed by past Agape Latte speakers, I couldn't help but be taken aback by their sheer genuineness and their incredible experiences. I've been on this earth for about a short 19 years, so to say that I'm lacking a bit in the experience of life department is a bit of an understatement. But I've learned a thing or two, and I've spent a lot of time thinking of what exactly I wanted to share with you all today. And when Mr. Drams asked me to speak here today, I remember spending a good 2 days just staring at my blank laptop screen. And then I remembered a very important person in my life telling me that more often than not, the obvious answer is staring me right in the face, and she was right in this case. The answer was literally right in front of me. The entire purpose of Agape Latte is to share a story that provides, and I quote, spiritual food for the journey ahead, the journey of life. And so as I sat there wondering what possible wisdom a young and dumb college freshman could possibly impart to an audience made up mostly of young and dumb, and in some special cases, dumber, Corinthian read, young men. So, after spending even more time pondering on this topic, I couldn't think of a better example of God within my own life than my own time in McQuaid. So, I'd just like to ask, raise your hand if you believe God is a palpable and real thing in your life. Now, if you were to ask younger me that same question, I would not be able to raise my hand, which is kind of strange considering my upbringing. I was born on December 3rd, 2003, to my two very Indian and very Catholic parents. From the beginning, my most prominent memories of my childhood was going to church every Sunday, and sometimes even in the middle of the week, which is crazy. And one thing that my family does as well, which is a bit different from other households, which I soon discovered, is that we pray the rosary in its entirety along with additional prayers at the end, and we read from the Bible as well every single day. Religion and faith were the foremost priorities of my upbringing. This habitual practice of prayer was something that always happened without fail. Even if it was very late at night or even if we were on the road, we'd still say the rosary, all our other prayers, and read from the Bible. My parents taught me the importance of following the 10 Commandments, daily prayer, going to Mass, receiving communion, and everyone's favorite, going to confession. Now, don't get me wrong, these are all critical components of having a strong and active faith, but it's not the only thing. And this was very apparent to me from the start. Despite reciting all these prayers and performing all these sacraments, I did not feel God in my life. I felt absolutely nothing. And it kind of grew to me resenting the entire routine of mindlessly droning these prayers and daydreaming in Mass, and actually just resenting God himself. I thought it was a sham, to be honest. I just thought my parents were crazy and I got dealt a bad hand in life. You know, going to school, I used to be in the West Irondequoit public school system before McQuaid, but I just couldn't help but feel angry. All my friends were having fun on the weekends and going to hang out with each other after school, but I was going home to do homework and pray for 45 minutes to an hour. And I know it sounds like I'm complaining, but it felt weird to be raised different. And you know, I asked my parents countless times, why do we do this? And you know, they simply just told me that we'd be blessed and happy. This answer really didn't satisfy me. At that point, it was just a waste of time to me. I didn't feel blessed. If anything, I felt the opposite. Growing up, I was what you could call awkward. I didn't really know how to talk to people or express or stand up for myself. And if anything, I felt like an outsider. I related to absolutely nobody. And that feeling of just not fitting in and doing something over and over again, I saw it as pointless, and it grew into immense feelings of anger and resentment. Resentment towards my parents for forcing me to live a lifestyle I did not want to live. Resentment towards God for needing all this prayer and attention. But, you know, I just kind of sucked it up and told myself this is something I just have to do, and so be it. So, you know, I continued on going through middle school. I just carried on. But then I came to McQuaid in the 8th grade. This was a result of my Aunt May suggesting to my mom that I take the entrance exam, or at least take a tour of the school. Her son, my cousin, Brandon Bijou, class of 18, was currently a student here at the time. And you know, when she suggested that, I thought the idea was ludicrous. The idea of me going to school wearing a suit and tie, no girls. I mean, to be fair, I wasn't really talking to many girls at that moment, but you know, I still had hope. And you know, a Catholic school, the last thing I thought I needed at the time was more God. But you know, I toured the school. The cafeteria kind of ended up being the reason why I ended up going here. Took the entrance exam and did pretty well. And yeah, I was on my way to McQuaid. Looking back at the old pictures of me from the first day going to McQuaid, I still think I looked ridiculous in that suit coat that was a little too big and the pants that were a bit too tight. I also had this weird buzz cut thing going on at the time, and I was a bit pudgy too. But I felt ridiculous too at the time going on that bus, wearing those clothes to a completely new environment full of new people. I was scared, to say the least. I thought I was going to end up fading into the background and go through each day miserable, saying the same prayers, having God shoved down my throat, not having any friends, and just being a loser. But I think the moment I realized that McQuaid would be different was during a talk we received during 8th grade orientation. This was the first time I was truly exposed to the idea of being a man for others. And not only that, but concepts, bigger concepts, like the grad, character, honor, loyalty, all of which were embedded into the curriculum here. That was one of the main things I immediately noticed as I began my schooling here. Regardless of the subject, those core principles were always tied into the material, and I actually found teachers and members of the staff that actually cared. I also saw that within the student body. I was making friends, real friends, people who I loved and loved me back. This was my first real glimpse of God in my life. You know, brotherhood is always one of those things you hear when McQuaid is brought up, and it looks pretty good on paper. But to live it, to truly experience it, is something completely different. For the first time in my life, I felt welcome. I wasn't an outsider anymore. And through these friendships and connections I made throughout my time here, I was able to lead various clubs and take other positions of leadership within the school, like serving as vice president on executive council. I was becoming someone, actually making a difference. This was big. Despite all the hard academic work and dedication towards my extracurriculars, be it Mosaic Club, BSU, or rugby, I was becoming somebody. To quote Coach Parisi, I didn't walk alone. And for the first time in my life, I felt God. I felt loved. But sometimes I wasn't able to really see that love all the time. At times I would get so caught up in school and my own life that I'd forget that it was there. And this is one of my biggest regrets, not taking the time to reflect and be grateful for all that I had. And that's the thing all of you should be wary about, because if you don't take the time for your mental health to look long and hard in the darkness for light, you'll find yourself drowning in the dark. And that's where I found myself once again. On the outside, I had everything, but on the inside, I still felt like that lonely, scrawny, weak little boy. And it takes a toll, mentally and physically, just staying in that state of ingratitude. The moment that I finally shook all these negative thoughts and emotions off myself was during my first Kairos. Now, to you underclassmen, Kairos is a retreat you'll have the opportunity to go to either your junior or senior year here at McQuaid. And to those of you who have been on Kairos, you know exactly what I mean when I say that it is the single most important and greatest part of the McQuaid experience. It is the pinnacle of love and brotherhood. Now, I can't go into all the details because, as you know, what happens on retreat stays on retreat. But through this single experience, I had my entire life reframed. My entire perspective and mentality was flipped on its head. At the end of that retreat, after signing my name in the Kairos book, I came back home, went to my room, and broke down in tears, clutching my Kairos notebook, holding it close to my chest as I sobbed. The reason why I was so emotional after that experience was because it was the first time that it really got through my thick head that I was loved. That throughout all the times of self-wallowing and grief, that I could not see with my own two eyes that I was loved. And yet I still couldn't believe that. I don't deserve that. I'm a nobody, a loser, a failure. I don't deserve this. I'm not worthy of all the love of my friends, my family, my God. And I feel like so many of us know that on some kind of subconscious level that we are loved, but to hear it, to hear those words spoken from the heart, to be told that you're enough despite all your imperfections, insecurities, and flaws, that's real. And from that day, I truly got it. All those years that I felt that God had abandoned me or that he simply wasn't there was a deception. He was there with various shapes and sizes. I just wasn't ready to see him. God was there with me when I was cheering with Simba. All the high fives and fist bumps I got walking through these halls, and even when I was alone at home. That day after Kairos is probably one of the most, if not the most, important days of my life. It was that day that I promised myself that I would try and be worthy of the love that I have. Each day I would try to honor the love of all those in my corner. To this day has become my ultimate life goal to become worthy. And I hope that with however much time I have left on this planet, that I can leave it knowing that I did everything I could to become a man that deserves such love, and to show as many people as possible that they too are surrounded with love, that they have God. Because at the end of the day, that's what God is. True, unconditional love. Love that doesn't care how broken you are, or how many mistakes you've made, or how much money's in your bank account, or what kind of clothes you wear. Love that simply says, I'm just glad you're here. And each and every single one of you in this room, with our different shapes and sizes, is an outward expression of the love of God. Each one of you is called not to only better yourself to honor that love, but to show others that despite their flaws, that they too can become worthy of the love of God. And this is no small mission. Had it not been for the love shown to me by this community, I will not be here today. There are countless others, even in this room, that bear the weight of the world upon their shoulders. Individuals that simply need to be reminded that they are loved. And I hope that each of you can take the shape of God and be that expression of love. Live your faith. Don't confine it to prayers on a Sunday. Take some responsibility and spread light in the world. God knows we need it now more than ever. And who knows, maybe we could even create paradise on earth. Because the voice and shape of God doesn't come in the form of a burning bush or a booming voice from the sky, but rather the smile of a friend or the utterance of some genuine words of kindness. These are the different shapes and sizes of God. Indeed, we are the different shapes and sizes of God. Thank you, gentlemen.